Okay, so the second part of our video, we will discuss all about organelles. Now, these organelles are actually little organs working together for the viability of the cell. Now, why is it that I consider them as little organs? Because these are organs having their own specific function for the vitality of the cell. These are also organs responsible for the vitality of the cell. Now, if we talk about vitality of the cell, we are pertaining into the activity of the cell. These are also organs responsible for growth and development of the cells and organs responsible for the activity of the cell. But we should also remember that not all organelles are actually membrane bound organelles. They are not, or not all are membrane bound organelles, because some of them are having a non-membrane bound organelles, and some are present in plants but absent in animals, and some are present in eukaryotic cell but absent in prokaryotic cell. Okay? Now, always remember, if we talk about organelles, let's remember that these organelles are actually the little organs working together for the vitality or viability of the cell. Now, let's give an example of a organelles. We have the cell membrane. Now, the function of cell membrane actually allows to pass through in and out the cell. It allows to pass through in and out the cell. So, always remember these mnemonics. Pasok. It allows to comes in and out the cell. Why? Because cell membrane are mainly for protection by means of physical barrier. They are also responsible, or they also allows molecules to pass through the cell. Allows the molecules to pass through the cell. But always remember also that not all molecules can pass through the cells. And that is the function of the cell membrane. Now, cell membrane is also a semi-permeable. Now, why is it that it is a semi-permeable? Because it is made up of phospholipids. Now, if we look into the structure of phospholipids, the phospholipids contain the polar head and the non-polar tail. This is the polar head and the non-polar tail. Polar tail. Now, the polar head of the phospholipid is hydrophilic. Now, meaning that if that is hydrophilic, it loves water. On the other hand, the tail of the phospholipid is hydrophobic. So, meaning that it hates water. That is the reason behind the orientation of phospholipids into the cell membrane, is that if this is the outer part of the cell, which contains water, okay, the polar head is across the water. Okay, inside the cell, having also the cytoplasm as the water part of the cell, the polar head is across the water part. Okay, so this is the orientation of phospholipids into the cell membrane. So it is made up of phospholipids. That is the reason why is it that it becomes a ball. Now, outside the cell, we can see receptors. Okay? Receptors. And these receptors are somehow later on determinants in whether what type of cell is that. Like for example, in determining blood type A and blood type B. In blood type A, there is a specific receptor, particularly carbohydrates for blood type A. There is also a specific receptors made up of carbohydrates for blood type B. So therefore, outside the cell containing the receptors, okay, one of the function of that is to identify whether what type of cell is it. Next, it is composed of, the cell membrane is composed of a bilayer of phospholipids. So meaning that if that is, or if cell membrane is composed of a bilayer of phospholipids, it contain a two-layer. Okay, like what I've mentioned a while back. Okay, so this is the orientation of phospholipids in our cell membrane. So always remember, for cell membrane, pasok. It allows molecules to pass in and out the cell. The next one is the cell wall. Cell wall. Now, if we look into the Latin word of cell wall, it came from the word cella, which means small room. Because looking into its structure, it looks like a small room in plant's cell. Okay, so therefore, always remember room. Okay, why? Because cell wall, they are also mainly responsible for support, protection, and it gives shape, or it maintains the shape of the cell. Okay, another, cell wall is also the outer layer of the cell into the cell into the cell. Next, always remember that cell wall, we can only see them into the plant cell. So therefore, it is absent in animal cell. Another, it is made up of, like what I have said, it is made up of carbohydrates, particularly cellulose, okay, to be specific, peptido, which is a polysaccharide. When we talk about polysaccharide, it contains many sugar. Polysaccharide, microfibrils, and glycan. Always remember, if we talk about cell wall, room, it is a small room. The next one is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is actually the gel liquid part, or gel-like fluid part of the cell. It's a gel-like fluid part of the cell. Okay, and it's a gel, yes. Why? You should always take note. Glycolysis, protein synthesis, and other cellular process occurs into the cytoplasm, or it is the site where glycolysis, protein synthesis, and other cellular processes occurs. Okay, next, it is enclosed by a cell membrane. Okay, it is enclosed by a cell membrane, meaning that if this is the cell membrane, inside the cell membrane we can see the cytoplasm. And lastly, it is located inside the cell where organelles are actually suspended. So meaning that since it's a fluid like, if this is the cell, this is the cell membrane. If this is the nucleus, okay, the nucleus or the cytoplasm contains the nucleus. Always remember, for cytoplasm, it's a gel-like fluid inside the cell. Next, we have the nucleus. The nucleus, which is highly specialized organized that serves as information processing and administrative center of the cell, which contains the genetic material or the DNA. Always remember that the nucleus contains the DNA or the deoxyribonucleic acid. Why? Always remember, nucleus is a double membrane nucleus, or it's a double membrane organelle. Why? Because if we look into the structure of the nucleus, it has the nuclear envelope, okay, and it also has a membrane into it, okay. And what is the function of the nucleus? It controls or it regulates activities of the cell. Why? Because it contains the DNA. Okay, nuclear envelope, nuclear pore, chromatin, and nucleoli are actually the parts of the nucleus. If this is the nucleoli, okay, enclosing that is a nuclear envelope having a pore, meaning that it has a hole. Now they are also responsible for protein synthesis. Okay, for protein synthesis, cell division, and differentiation. So these are the specific function, differentiation of the nucleus. But always remember that if we pertain into the nucleus, it contains the DNA, which is the genetic material controlling and administering and the processing center of the cell. The next organelle that we do have is the mitochondria. Okay, mitochondrion or the mitochondria. Okay, for the mitochondrion, always remember that this is the powerhouse of the cell. Why it is considered as the powerhouse of the cell? Because it generates adenosine triphosphates and or the energy. So it is power. Why? Because it is considered as the powerhouse of the cell. Okay, next, oxygen and nutrients are converted into adenosine triphosphate. Oxygen and nutrients like sugar are converted into adenosine triphosphate. Now, it also has two membranes. So meaning that it is a double membrane organelle. It is a double membrane organelle. Now, energy is the main product of this organelle. Energy is the main product of this organelle into the form of adenosine triphosphate. And now, looking into its structure, it's actually a rod-shaped organelle. It's a rod-shaped organelle. Always remember, if we talk about mitochondrion, it's the powerhouse of the cell. The next one is the Golgi apparatus or the Golgi bodies. Golgi or the Golgi apparatus. So this is actually an apparatus or a series of flattened stocked pouches called cristae. it containing a flattened sac. Okay, if we look into its structure. So therefore, since primarily its function is to pouch, so always remember supot, like a plastic, okay, that covers for which is being used for packing. Now it serves as vesicle vesicles for proteins and lipids. Okay, for proteins and lipids in preparation for lipid synthesis and in preparation for protein synthesis. Now, it is also used to modify proteins and lipids. They are used to modify proteins and lipids. Okay? Packing, packaging, protein, packaging of proteins. Okay, it packaged the proteins and lipids. Okay, it is also the organelles having a membrane. Organelle having a membrane. So it is a membrane bound organelle. And its function also is to transport lipids and proteins. Okay, so these are the functions of Golgi bodies or Golgi apparatus. Always remember that Golgi apparatus is responsible or are responsible for packaging. Okay, and what is being used in packaging? Support, okay, proteins and lipids. The next one is the ribosome. Ribosome. Ribosome is a complex molecule that forms a factory for protein synthesis into the cell. Okay, it is found in the cytoplasm or bound in endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, so looking into it, it is mainly for protein synthesis. And what is the product of this protein synthesis? Okay, RNA. Why is it? Because it is responsible for protein synthesis. Protein synthesis. It also has, or the nucleolus creates ribosome. So what creates the ribosome is the nucleolus. And they are made up of ribosomal RNA, made up of ribosomal RNA, and proteins consisting a two complex known as large and small subunit. So there are two classifications, the small and the large subunit. Now for the units of the ribosome, we will discuss this if we move into the discussion of central dogma, which is later on being discussed further into your general biology 1. Always remember, if we talk about ribosome, we pertain into RNA. The next one is the lysosome. Lysosome. So for the lysosome is actually a membrane-bound organelles that originated from endoplasmic reticulum. Okay, its function is actually for it digest food. It digests food, recycled old components of the cell, and it is important in killing and invading the microorganism. So therefore, it is considered as hero. Okay, so hero. Why hero? It has hydrolytic enzyme. These hydrolytic enzyme are responsible for digesting food, recycled components of the cell, and kill invading organism. Engulfment. So what is the process of engulfment? If this is the lysosome and this is the foreign body or material, what is needed? What is the mechanism of this lysosome? It engulf or it eats the it's the microorganism itself. Now residual bodies are actually indigested. Indigested. Now, since they are indigested, they stays in lysosome. Okay, they stays in lysosome and excreted through the process of exocytosis. If we do have endocytosis, what is endocytosis? From the word endocytosis, it it's okay, from out to in. When we talk of exocytosis, from inside going outside. So this is exocytosis and this is endocytosis. Okay, the next one is that they are actually originated from endoplasmic reticulum. They are originated from endoplasmic reticulum. Always remember, lysosome, it's a hero. Lysosome is a hero that protects foreign bodies inside the cell. Okay, for the special organelles of the cell, we do have the flagella. Okay, for flagella is a microscopic long whip-like organism, okay, used for movement. So it is a whip. Okay, this is actually a specialized arrangement of microtubules. Specialized arrangement of microtubules. Okay, the microtubules gives it's actually the reason why is it that flagella is moving in a whip-like form. Okay, it has an axon. It has an axonium, which is surrounded by the extension of the cell membrane. Okay, it is found in bacteria, Archaebacteria, eukaryotes, like sperm cell. Okay, we can find this flagella. Now, peritrichus, okay, with several flagellum. If we look into the peritrichus itself, it has a flagellum. Okay, what else? Amphitrichus with single in both ends. Amphitrichus, single in both ends. That is the Amphitrichus flagellum. What else? We do have the Lophotrichus with several flagellum on one end. This is our Lophotrichus. Lophotrichus. And also we have the Monotrichus, which contains one end of the organism. So these are the different types of flagella. Okay, peritrichus. What else? Lophotrichus. Okay, amphitrichus and the monotrichus. Okay, always remember, if we talk about flagella, it's a whip-like form. Another, we have the cilia. For the cilia here, it's a hair-like projection structure. Okay, hair-like structure. So our mnemonics is hair. It has an axoneme, and it is around 5 to 10 micrometer. It is around 5 to 10 micrometer. Okay, it involves for locomotion. It is involved in locomotion. Okay, what else? Locomotion or movement, feeding and circulation. Okay, what else? Its activity is rotational activity. Okay, so always remember, for cilia, it's a hair-like projection. Next, we do have also chloroplast. Okay, For chloroplast, this is responsible for the green pigment of the leaves. Okay, green is responsible for the green pigment. Okay, what else? Responsible for food. Responsible for food. Okay, food production. What else? If we look into its structure, it contains envelope, which is the outer membrane. We also have the intermembrane space, containing an intermembrane space. Okay, stroma, thylakoid. So these are actually present into our chloroplast. Now it is embedded or suspended into a liquid matrix and harbor for photosynthetic activity, particularly for photosynthetic activity. Okay, what else? It is not present in animals, not present in animals, not present in animals. Okay, next we have the last one, we have the vacuoles. For the vacuoles, okay, this is responsible for space. The vacuole is actually a membrane-bound organelles present in all plants and fungal cells and some protist animals and bacteria. But what I want you to always remember is space. Okay, why? Because they are actually smaller in animals, okay, and bigger in plants. What else? They are mainly for protection, structural support, waste disposal, growth, and function. It is also a membrane-bound organelle. So meaning that it has its function for compartmentalization. What else? Its central vacuole is large. So the central vacuole is large, and where can we find this into the plant cell? And it is also enclosed by a membrane known tone plus. Okay? So this are the information that we need to know about vacuole is phase. So for the next video presentation, I will discuss to you the cell membrane.